Hello, my name's Fred McNeil, and you're watching QAC TV. The name of the show is Fireside Chat. Every week we bring in delightful guests we want you to meet, have an idea of who they are, what their jobs are, and a little bit about the individual, where they grew up, where they went to school, and maybe even a good story or two, all right? This week we're very fortunate. We have Dr. Barbara Viniar. And Doctor, thanks a million for being here.
My pleasure.
Okay, and we're going to talk about who she is, where she grew up, etc., etc. But we're also going to spend a good deal of time to talk about this vibrant thing we have on the Eastern Shore, Chesapeake College. It's a regional community college, serves Queen Anne's County and 4 other counties. So we want to share that information, all right, which will be good.
Sure.
Barbara, how about we start out, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New York City in
Okay.
the
City
Bronx.
girl. In the Bronx,
yes,
okay.
I was for most of my life.
Okay, so tell me about growing up in New York City. This would be 60s, 70s? You don't have to date yourself.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Okay.
Well, let's just say it was a wonderful time to grow up.
Okay.
And I walked to school, which
Okay.
is not an experience a lot of kids here
Public school, private
have.
school?
Walked to public school all the way,
Okay.
elementary school, junior high school. I went to one of New York's special high schools. It was called
Okay.
the High School of Music and Art. And that was not anywhere near where I live, so I became a strap hanger, which
Okay.
is the
Holding on
New
to a
York
subway.
version of a subway rider. Went to school, and then went away to college. So that was my
Well,
first
let's
time
stay
away.
there. I bet you said
Okay.
this is a fine arts school for music. What? Tell
Well,
me
it was
about
music and art, and I
Okay.
was an art major.
Oh, talk
and I
about it.
met just absolutely wonderful people there. And if anyone in the audience remembers the movie Fame,
Okay.
Fame was actually about the High School of Performing Arts. They have now merged.
Okay.
And it was kind of like that without the drugs.
Okay.
We just, there was singing everywhere and dancing, and I could, when I was taking history, I could hear the chorus rehearsing
Down the hall.
upstairs, and it was really inspirational.
A great environment.
I
Now,
liked
what
it.
were you?
I was an art major,
okay.
and as an art major, you had to take everything from charcoal drawing to watercolors to oils to every kind of art. There was 2D design and 3D design. On the New York City subway, I did carry sculptures made out of toothpicks. And if you've ever been on a New York City
They're
subway,
bumping
you
and
know
pushing, right?
That, right, that is a challenge. But it was a great experience.
So
for
you
me.
were an art person. Okay.
I was, and I think that it just enriched my life. I didn't intend to be an artist. I don't think I'm that talented,
Sure.
but it sort of gave me a way of literally looking at the world that
the eyes
that
of an
I
artist.
appreciate.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, how about before we continue a little further down the road, mom and dad, the siblings?
My parents also grew up in the Bronx
Okay.
in different parts
You're
of
a
the
real
Bronx.
New Yorker, yeah, born and raised.
Of course, my mother would talk about when the streets weren't paved in the Bronx, and my dad would talk about taking the milk truck to date her. And I have 2 younger brothers, and you know, we lived in a neighborhood, and a neighborhood is the city version of a small town.
Sure.
So everybody knows everybody else. Everybody knows who doesn't belong. You go down to the grocery store and you say, "Put it on my mom's bill. She'll pay you on Friday." And it
Small
is
town
like
America
a small town.
in big city New
Right.
York.
It's just
right?
that the buildings are taller,
Okay.
but it's that same sense of people belonging and taking care of each other.
You always had eyes looking at you when you walked down the
Always.
street to make
Oh,
sure
boy.
what was going
Always.
on.
Right.
And if you
And-
messed up, mom and dad probably got a phone call.
Exactly. Yeah, the neighbors were always watching.
Okay, so you graduated. By the way, do you still do art? Or do you still paint?
Occasionally,
Okay.
occasionally.
You had the showings or anything? Or
No.
exhibits? No, okay,
no.
all right. You do it for fun.
But I do
that's
have
it.
a photography credit to my name. I used to belong to a network of women researchers,
Okay.
and 4 of them had just published a book. And I
Terrific.
arrived at a meeting, and I had my camera with me back in the days when we had actual cameras, and they said, "Can you take our picture?" And I said yes, and it was published in their book. And
Terrific.
so I have a photography
There you
credit.
go. That's
Yeah.
good. Looks good on the resume. I like it.
does.
Okay.
Well, it makes me proud.
There you go. So you graduated from New York
Music
City
and art.
schools.
Mhm.
Okay, music and art. What was the next step?
I went to what is now Binghamton University, which
Okay.
at the time was Harper College.
Okay.
It was a small public liberal arts college.
Art
And-
major again, or what?
No,
No.
no. I went thinking I would be a psychology major, and they only had behavioral psych, so I
Okay.
spent the first semester teaching a rat to poke its nose through the 3rd grid on the right.
And then
the
it gets a pellet, right.
And then the second semester, blowing smoke in people's eyes to see how many times they would blink, and I thought, I don't like that.
Okay.
Fell in love with English literature and poetry,
Okay.
and became an English major.
Oh, very good. Okay.
And then something that not a lot of people know is
Right.
I dropped out of school as a junior. I got married. I had a baby.
So you had
And
3 years of college. We meet Mr. Wright.
I had 2.5.
2.5.
And Mr. Wright was someone that I had known previously. And he actually went to Brazil on a fellowship, and we decided that I would join him there.
Oh, good for
And
you.
so I got married and got pregnant right away. And then when I went back to school, I already had a child. And I think it has really helped me understand what it's like to
With the
go to
mature
school
student
as a
at
parent.
Chesapeake. Now, did you spend some time in Brazil?
I did.
How
I
long
lived
in
in
Brazil?
Brazil, well, just long enough to come back and have the baby. So I was there for not quite 9 months.
Okay, tell me about Brazil.
Well, I think it was a great experience. I didn't think so when I got there because I was actually 19 years old and
You're
not
good.
very
You're good.
sophisticated.
Yeah, okay.
So it was hard at first to be in a place where I didn't know the language and didn't know the culture. And I took to the language pretty quickly and ended up loving it there and was actually sorry to come back. And I just
Working
went
or
again
just
last
get
year.
ready to have a
No,
baby?
I
No?
did not work. I was lady of the house, and in Brazil, that means I did absolutely nothing. I
You
had,
had
I had a
staff?
maid, and
Oh, wow.
I was
And this is when you're 19.
right, and
All right.
I had no idea what to do.
Sure,
I didn't know how
sure.
to tell somebody what to do, but it was great, and I made lifelong friends, people I still know, and I actually took my daughter, the one I was pregnant with,
Right.
back there last year.
Oh, wow.
And
Went to
we
the
went-
old house? Or?
well, we
No.
couldn't find it.
It's good.
We
It's
went
grown.
back to Sao Paulo.
Okay.
Sao Paulo now has 21 million people. And
Sao Paulo
is the metropolitan
Right,
area.
right.
It's one of their largest cities. It's a financial capital. And so I knew where the neighborhood was, couldn't remember the exact address, but for all I know, there's,
Just
it's
totally
a
changed.
skyscraper.
It's totally
It is huge. They have a subway. They have colossal traffic jams. It is not the city I
No,
remembered.
it's New York City, yes?
It is way bigger than New York City.
Okay, all
yeah.
right. What'd
But we
you-
had a great trip. We
What'd
had
your
a great
daughter
trip. She wanted to see where she.
Yeah.
Well, she said, "I want to go back." I said, "Well,
Good for
you
her.
weren't exactly here, but
You get a free ride.
She had been to other countries, but never to South America, so it was a good trip.
That would have been just you, mom, daughter.
Right.
That would've been a
and
nice
we,
trip.
we saw samba school because they were getting ready for Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
We saw where the Olympics are going to be. We were there right before World Cup.
Okay.
I would never go there for the Olympics. They are not ready.
It's going to be,
But-
well, the stadiums aren't going to be ready, and the
I don't
infrastructure,
know.
they
It's
say.
the infrastructure. It's the infrastructure. But they're wonderful people. They are friendly and full of life, and they love to have a party. And we were on Copacabana Beach for
Oh,
New Year's
yeah.
Eve.
Oh, my
2
goodness.
million people.
On the beach, I've seen
Dancing
pictures,
and
concerts and everything.
Unbelievable. I'm glad I did it once.
As you say, the
You
Brazilian
get to say you did it once.
Yeah, the Brazilian Travel Bureau owes you a check or a free trip because of that.
It was wonderful. It was a great experience.
So you're a young mom, you come back, and you went back to school to
Mm-hmm. I went
finish
back
up?
to school, finished my bachelor's.
At the same school or a different school?
No,
Oh.
different school, because by then we lived back in New York City.
Okay.
Finished my bachelor's at one of the CUNY, City
Okay,
University schools.
City University, New York.
And then had my second daughter.
Okay.
And
Now you're English, we stayed with English
yes,
lit? Okay.
and got my master's degree in
I mean,
English.
I'm a reader and I love all this stuff. Give me a favorite poet and a favorite author. You have one
Oh,
that
favorite.
jumps out?
I still read Jane Eyre every
Okay,
once in a while
okay.
because I love it,
Right.
and so I do love that 19th century
Sure.
English literature. Poet, maybe Yeats, but I like some of the contemporary poets. I'm just open to
Still read a
different-
lot? I mean,
Oh,
is that downtime for
voracious,
you? Oh, good.
voracious.
Okay, good for
Although
you.
a lot of my downtime reading is pure escapism.
Okay, just
I
get
like
away
to
from
read
that, yeah.
mysteries. I like mysteries that feature women detectives.
Sure.
I like cozy mysteries. Not a lot of
Just
blood and
relax and
gore.
get away.
Absolutely, absolutely. I still always walk around with a book in front of my nose. Well, actually, I should say now I walk around with the iPad in front of
Okay,
my
all right,
nose.
but you're still
So-
reading. That's
all the
important.
time.
So
all the
we're a
time.
mom. I got a degree. I have two daughters. Am I correct? Work or full-time mom?
I
What's
started working when I finished my master's degree, and by then I was a single mom,
next?
so I had to go to work.
Master's back
In
to Sunny.
English,
You
right.
stayed at, okay.
And then I was a single mom then, and started working at the community college. By then we had moved to the suburbs.
Okay.
So I started working at Rockland Community College, which
sure.
is about 25 miles outside of New York, and had never been at a community college really, and just
Love it.
looked around and said, wow, this is...
Teaching English. You're teaching English.
No,
Okay.
I was. I actually started as an administrator.
Okay.
I had done some like being an assistant teacher, and then when I was ready, there were no full-time jobs, and so I took a different one. And
Is
but I
that what
just
your
loved it.
master's was in administration?
My master's was in English.
Okay.
My EDD, doctorate in education, is in educational leadership.
Okay, all right.
But I love community colleges, and I have never
You haven't left?
looked back.
Well, that first administrative job was what? What were we doing?
I was
probably everything at that point.
Yeah, right. I was actually working on a grant-funded program that was a multidisciplinary. Today, we'd probably call them learning communities, where faculty worked together to provide learning experiences that were linked. So the sociology class and the English class and the math class were linked around a theme, and as I said, today we would call them learning communities. I worked with the faculty on training opportunities and developing the curriculum and recruiting the students.
So you were on the teaching curriculum side of administration?
Yeah.
Yeah, and putting it all
program
together.
Development.
Yeah,
program development.
Now, how long did you do that?
I did that for 3 years, and
And
then
you're
I
raising
became
two girls, so you got that
raising
going
two
on.
girls,
Okay.
and then I became a program director and an assistant dean and
Now,
an
this is all
associate
at the same
dean,
school?
and I stayed at Rockland Community College for
Okay.
17 years.
Oh, 17 years.
And I changed jobs every 3 years.
Okay.
So I kind of moved around
You
a
kept
lot.
growing, you kept
but
growing,
I
yeah.
stayed in the same place, got to raise my family in the same place, so my girls
All
grew
grew
up
up
there.
right there.
and,
Okay.
You know, have their lifelong friends from there, which is really nice. I knew pretty early on that I wanted to be a president, so
I mean, that was a career goal. Mm-hmm. Good for you.
well, once I got there, I looked around and said, well, who's having
I'm
the
as
most...
good as these
who's-
guys.
Well, no, what I said is, who's having the most fun? And it seemed to
Up
me
top.
that the president was, and
Well, good for
he
you.
was a brilliant, creative man.
What was his name?
His name was Steve Escow, and he
Okay.
was one of the giants at that time. And I was also fortunate that I had an extraordinary boss, and he was very encouraging. Actually, everybody was.
So they nurtured you, you were growing, and you
exactly.
had a career. So where do we go after this program planning? Give me some, I mean...
Well, I did a kind of
assistant dean,
straight
yeah.
line,
Okay.
straight line rather. You know, like, as I said, assistant dean, associate dean, dean, vice president.
Just worked your way around the community
And then
council.
toward the end, the vice president for advancement left, and I went into the president and said, I would like to do that.
Good.
I have no experience in that, but I said I would
Yeah.
like to do that.
Yeah.
And that was the fundraising, marketing, publications, and incredibly valuable experience for
Okay.
president. So I did that, and then I finally became a president at Berkshire Community College.
Okay, now let's go to Western Mass. Okay,
Yes,
now, how
that
old
was
are
Western Mass.
The girls are out of high school?
Oh, by
still
then
in-
they're out of
Oh, they're gone.
college,
Oh,
and
they're gone.
they're
Okay.
grown. They're grown.
So we go to Western Mass. Is it Sturbridge? Where is it?
Stockbridge.
Stockbridge.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I actually lived in the town of Lennox, which is
Okay.
not far from Stockbridge,
okay.
and then the college was in Pittsfield.
Oh, that's right, Pittsfield.
So-
Beautiful Western Mass.
Gorgeous
Summer
country,
stock.
Oh yeah, the summer home of the Boston Symphony,
Right, okay.
and lots of theater.
Tell me about that experience.
it was
Pittsfield,
great.
Mass, yeah.
It was great, and it was interesting because Pittsfield had been the home of General Electric.
Okay.
General Electric left, and the town of Pittsfield, or the city
Was
of
in trouble.
Pittsfield, struggled.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of that here as people are confronting some of those same decisions. You know, how do you get economic development without ruining the quality of life? How do you ensure access for all your citizens? How do you live in a beautiful area that people come to visit and retire, but make sure you take care of the people who live there?
And how long were you?
So I was there for 9 years.
Oh, good stay there. Okay.
I did. I loved it. And then I went to Cornell University to run a leadership program for
Okay.
community colleges.
Okay.
That was a national program, so I traveled
So people
all over
would be
the country.
coming for classes
Well,
or
both.
what? No,
They
what?
came to Cornell. We did training on site. We did programs in different locations. So we did one in Florida on entrepreneurship, and it was great. It was a
I bet
lot of
it
fun.
was.
I'd never been at a big university like
Sure.
that before, and so it was very
Well,
interesting
you had
for
the
me.
experience of two community colleges experience, running one, right? And then get to teach. Were you teaching people?
I was teaching community college professionals, so they
Okay.
were people who might want to be presidents. Maybe they were already presidents, and some of it was content oriented, such as I said, entrepreneurship or environmental issues, and some of it was about specific leadership skills like collective
So
bargaining.
some real
or-
practical things
Yeah,
of running a
yeah.
community college. It was good stuff.
Exactly.
Good
I loved
stuff.
it.
Okay.
I loved it. And I still meet people as I go to national conferences,
You went through
who will
that.
say, "Oh, I remember you from when I came to one of your programs,"
Good
and
for
it's
you.
very gratifying.
Yeah, how long were you at Cornell?
I was at Cornell for 5 years.
Okay, now from Cornell to here?
I came here.
Okay, right here. Now, was the call to be, I want to be a president again? What was the call? Okay.
Yeah, I felt I had one more presidency in me,
Okay.
and I knew the person running the search here, and we spent a long time talking about the opportunity, and then I knew the person who had chaired the Middle States evaluation, which is the accreditation team, and he said, it's a great place, and what you see is what you get. People are honest, and they
It's
really
Eastern Shore,
care.
right? It's
Exactly.
Eastern Shore.
Exactly. And so I applied, and I was lucky to
worked out.
get the job, and I've been here almost 7 years.
So it's 7 years, you're living in Talbot County now, right? Okay,
I live in
all right.
Easton.
Now, let's hit the switch here, okay? Thank you
Okay.
for that. That's great. I didn't know about the Western Mass part. Tell me, Chesapeake College, you and I talked before there. I was there in the 79, early 80s, where it was 4 or 5 buildings. Now you have a major, I think, one of the major important institutions on our 5-county area. Tell me about all the good things going on in Chesapeake in terms of 50th anniversary.
How much time do we have?
As long as you want.
Well, for one thing, as you just said, we are launching our 50th anniversary. Chesapeake College was founded, it was chartered on December 22nd, 1965. It's going to be a long party because we will celebrate the founding and the first class and
great.
opening the campus and the first commencement. So we're going to have a lot of parties.
A lot of good stuff.
lot of parties.
Now, I think, let me check that a minute. Chesapeake College was housed at Queen Anne's County High School in the, okay, so Queen Anne's County has I think we have a special attachment
Yes.
to it.
And of course, we're now located in Queen Anne's County. So
okay.
even though we are funded by the 5
Five
counties, we are here and work very closely with Queen Anne's County government and economic development. So, and the county's been wonderful to us.
Good, good.
So that's great. So we have our 50th anniversary, and we're going to launch the 50th anniversary the day we open our brand new Health Professions and Athletics Center.
And this is going to be this huge building everyone
It is
tells me? Okay.
100,000 square feet, which is big enough to house every building you remember. It is the old phys ed building. So the gym you will recognize, it's the
Right.
same gym.
Right.
There is no more pool, but that area will become a practice gym and multi-purpose room,
Okay.
big room for 200
Right.
people at a meeting. And then what we added on was space for all of our health professions.
So this is a heck of a big building with a lot of wonderful facilities.
Huge, and state-of-the-art equipment. I actually took a tour today, and I
Oh,
got
good,
to see
good.
some of it. So we have a replica of an operating room for our surgical technology program. We have an apartment for our EMT, EMS, so they can practice extricating people
So a lot
from
of
the
things going on
apartment.
in that building.
We have an ambulance box for the EMT, EMS, so they practice in a confined space where all the equipment is where it's going to be. Dental assisting chairs, X-ray equipment for the Rad Tech program. We are starting exercise science and sport management programs
You
as
have
a,
sports
as a
management.
natural.
Good for
We
you.
already started teaching courses in that.
Great, great.
It's going to have a 2-story fitness center. Lots of new locker
Ed Baker
facilities.
he's jumping up
poor
and down.
Ed. Well, we have invited back all of the athletes, all of the students who
Terrific,
didn't get to be
terrific.
in this brand new facility. So that will open on August 19th, just in time for classes, and it's just thrilling.
Sounds great, sounds great.
I took the tour when it was just concrete platforms and nothing else, and today the walls are painted and some of the equipment
You're
is
seeing
going
the
in.
end of the tunnel here.
The end of the, and it is on schedule and on budget.
Terrific,
And
great.
I'm very proud of
Dr.
that.
David, before we go any further, if someone's watching this program and they say, wait a minute, I graduated from Chesapeake, how can they get involved, or what do you want them to do if someone's saying, an old guy like me, hey, I taught there 5 years. I mean, do you want them involved? Or what do you want?
Absolutely. We want to know their stories. We
Okay.
want to hear from alumni.
Okay.
So what they should do is call the college number and ask for the advancement office. And either if they'd like, they can actually serve on a committee and help
Okay.
us
So you're looking
celebrate.
for help and involvement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we want to know the stories. I mean, so many times I run into someone and they'll say, I went to Chesapeake in the 70s
sure.
and this is what I did with it. Or sometimes I actually know someone who said, I wish I had gone to Chesapeake. So, we hear these wonderful stories, and even if I go to a meeting now, I will find that somebody's child went to Chesapeake, or their sibling went to Chesapeake, or their niece or nephew went to Chesapeake, or their employees went to Chesapeake. We have touched thousands.
It's a vital part of the community,
lives.
and it has been for
Absolutely.
50 years.
Yeah.
I think you guys have done great. Now, I've got to ask you this, and you and I talked before the air. The windmill. I mean,
Okay.
I see people coming to the ocean, and I'm sorry, they're rubbernecking. You can see them going, look at this, it's great, a community college. So tell me about the windmill.
Well, you know, we want to stand for the protection of this precious environment that we have here on the shore. And one of the ways you do that is with renewable energy. So the wind turbine is not generating a lot of power. So people say, oh, does it power the campus? No, it actually powers part of one building. However, our choice of putting it right on Route 50 was to make a statement.
Oh, it's
and
great.
to
It's
be
great.
a symbol. And one person after it was built said to me, it's the symbol of the future of the Eastern Shore.
Oh, it is. And Chesapeake
I
College.
love it.
Yeah, I think it's
And
great.
now we're moving into solar. We're anticipating a 6-acre solar field and covering our new parking lot next to the new building with solar canopies. We'll have charging stations for electric vehicles. So we are here. We're not
You're
not
not
Montgomery
talking
College.
about it, you're doing it.
Right, we're not Baltimore City Community College. We are Chesapeake College, just a few miles from the bay, surrounded by cornfields, and we want to make sure that we honor the environment we live in.
Barbara, let me just ask you, how many full-time students now at Chesapeake?
About 2,400.
Okay.
We were actually
2,400.
24. How many were there when you were there?
We were lucky, on a good day, 400.
400. So, and we actually were closer to 3,000 at the height of the recession,
Yeah, right.
and we'd like to be back around 3,000. We think that's a good number for us.
I mean, I think you're doing a fantastic job in the traditional college academic path. I mean, 2 years here and then transferring to Salisbury State. But what I'm amazed, I'm pulling out of the airport the other day, there's a truck going by, Chesapeake College, and I forget what it said underneath. I mean, Bernie Sadusky was talking about it was here. You've reached out to the jobs where 2 years or a certificate or 1 year of education
Exactly.
is enough.
And you know, some of those programs are for people who want immediate employment.
Right.
So the truck driving, I think it's about 16 weeks, or
Okay.
bus driver, we do that kind of training, or certified nurse assistant. And you know, people come to us at different times in their lives for different reasons.
Right.
Maybe it's to upgrade skills in a job they already have. Maybe it's for a new job. Maybe it's for their first job, or like you said, maybe it's for transfer. They know their career or they don't.
Right.
You know, we hear a lot about student debt. Students amassing huge debt
It's crazy.
to go to universities and liberal arts colleges, and they don't know what they want to do. They come to Chesapeake for 2 years, they knock $100,000 off that bill, and have a chance to work directly with faculty, because our classes are still as small as they were when you were there, and they get to be known as a person, not just a number, and that's how they decide what their future path is.
I think you do such a great job with two things. One, you alluded to yourself, the adult learner. I'm a mom or a dad. I've started a family. You know, I want a career change. I've got 60 credits. I've got 30 credits. I'm not quite there. They can go back to a Chesapeake College, reasonable price, evening classes, day classes, weekend classes, online classes. You've got it all, right? And it's that individual attention. I love. My 3 kids all went through your school. And I love it when you go out there, hey mom, I met Mr. So-and-so and he told me don't do this, I should, and it was very personal rather than you're a number, here's a piece of paper, and by the way, here's a big bill. You do the opposite of that.
And sometimes people come to us because they already have the skills, but maybe they want to start their own business.
Right.
So they're really great with computers, or they're great with landscaping, or they can give really good massages, but they don't know how to make a business out of that. So they'll come back to Chesapeake and learn the entrepreneurship skills or the business skills. So people use us for what they need when they need it.
I think Chesapeake College is a hidden gem, I think, of the Upper Shore. Price-wise, right, and again, individual attention. My golly, your curriculum selection is unbelievable. And then you say your adult education, we're big into that, right? So I mean, there's so many opportunities, right?
Do you want to work for us?
Well, I did. You don't want me to.
Right?
Now, let me ask, I always ask this at the end. I love talking to educators. If you had a crystal ball, okay, where do you see community colleges, and specific Chesapeake College, 5, 10 years? I mean, we know it's going to, what do you see changes, whether it's online learning, technology, or what are the presidents of community colleges saying? Hey, here's what I think is going to happen down the road. Are we?
Well, what I'd like to see happen down the road is free community college.
Okay.
I think that's an idea whose time has come.
All right. You like the president's
And
idea with
I do.
13th and 14th year being free?
That I think it's what we need for the jobs that are here and the jobs that are coming. So I'm hoping, we didn't used to have universal high school. So it takes time for the momentum around an idea like that to build.
It's
and
a great
obviously
idea.
it takes resources.
Yeah.
So I think 5 to 10 years from now you might see that.
You
might see that across the country. And I think there will be more focus on what we call middle skills jobs that require some college, but not necessarily a 4-year degree. And I would hope an integration of the kinds of skills that people need. It's not the liberal arts or vocational education. It's really
Can be both.
a little bit of both.
Okay.
And we were talking today about what people have called soft skills, and I heard Secretary Perez refer to as essential skills: communication, teamwork, reading and writing.
Right.
And we do that. We do that really well. And some of that you find in the liberal arts, and some of that you find in your business courses. So we want to make sure that we don't encourage that sense that if you do one, you can't do the other.
Okay, well, let's summarize this whole thing. Big 50th anniversary, getting ready to kick off. You want people to get involved,
Absolutely.
old faculty, old graduates, and they can call, again, where do you want them to call if they're
They can
interested?
call 410-822-5400.
And say, "I've got a story to tell," or
Ask
whatever.
for the advancement office,
Okay.
and we'll find a way for them to get involved.
Okay, and I think, I always put my plug in for your community colleges, those that are out there looking for a bargain, they've got children not exactly sure what they want to do, you can provide 2 years of all these courses, the English 101, the Psycho ones, you can get them started. You do a great job of screening them, putting them in the right classes if they need some developmental help, that type of thing. And when do we kick off? So if my kid's a senior this year, I want to make sure, and I'm mom and dad watching this, when do they start thinking about signing up for the fall? Now, okay.
Now, registration will start in May. Our
Okay.
current students are going to start in 2 weeks, and then registration for new students will start in May. So now's a good time to make a phone call, come see an advisor, come see the financial aid office, and start making those plans.
And last question, a parent, again, says, well, what do they have to do? A phone call, is there some early testing, the placement testing, what do they do?
Well, they have to do all of that, but I would
Okay.
start with a phone call.
Okay,
Or
do the
go
phone call.
online.
All right,
Go
okay.
online.
It can all be done online.
www.chesapeake.edu, and the whole process is explained online.
Okay, and it's nice and easy, all right.
It's very easy.
Well, Dr. Viniar, thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you for
Hey,
having
you're
me.
a great story because, look, I've got a minute, so I get to do my time. Look, tell the story, and we talked about this before we went on the air. You made a wonderful speech. It was Martin Luther King's Day. Tell them the metaphor, similar, you're the English teacher, you tell me what it was. You compared two groups.
I looked at the African American history and Jewish history because I'm Jewish, and it's a quest for freedom.
Yeah.
And when Martin Luther King talked about his vision, when we think about it, we're actually getting ready to celebrate the holiday of Passover, and that is all about the quest for freedom.
Right.
And I think that's something that we have shared, and something that every civilization shares ultimately is the quest for freedom.
I want you to know, I said this off there, that speech was as good as any speech I'd heard on Martin Luther King's birthday celebration. That
Thank
was
you.
an excellent, all right? Well, again, thank you very much for being with
Thank
us,
you.
okay? My name's Fred McNeil. You're watching QAC TV. You've been watching Fireside Chat. Thanks a million for being with us. My time is up. Thank you for your time, and we're going to see you next time.